I am your host, Nicole Will, and we thank you for joining us as we navigate the world with your aging loved one. We are here to come alongside elders, family members, and the senior living community as we explore the world of aging and elder care with helpful resources, informative interviews, and approachable conversations. We get to do this together, so join us on our journey, and this is the willGather podcast. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I just about lost my breath. I don't know if that's the right word, but I was so excited when Christina Peoples, creator of Gero-what, decided, or I shouldn't say decided, agreed to do a podcast with me. I just love her energy and her passion. She is a native of North Carolina. Her passion is working with older adults, and her desire is to educate people about the world of gerontology. She holds a Master's of Science degree in gerontology with a concentration in aging and business. She attended the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and she credits her foundation in the field of gerontology to the historically Black college university, Winston-Salem State University. Gero-what's purpose is to dispel and eliminate the many myths and stereotypes that are directed towards aging, to provide resources, and to exemplify that life doesn't end just because we turn another year older. And with that, Christina, welcome. So
Thank
happy you're
you
here.
for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, we got connected. I was following along, I believe it was on Instagram, with all that you've been doing, and I just couldn't get enough. I felt like it was so refreshing how you communicate to this younger generation. I mean, really all people in general, but you're so passionate about older adults and educating people about the world of gerontology. I just was like, oh my gosh, I want the whole world to meet you and to be able to see all that you do and what you offer. And when we were talking before, we're definitely kindred spirits. We
Yes.
loved older adults even from when we were younger. We're probably old souls. And gerontology totally found both of us in this roundabout way. How did you come to create Gero-what and go into this field?
Well,
Ah,
it's a loaded question in
yeah.
a way because the the way things come around full circle is amazing. It blows my mind. But like you said, I have been into older adults since I was a child. And that's rare. It's rare that you find children who are just like a magnet, and they
Mhm.
find themselves stuck to older adults and wanting to be around them. But that was who I was growing up, and so I always knew, like, this is what I want to do. I want to work with older adults, and I thought the route to do that was to be a nurse. And so when I went to school, I said, okay, I'm gonna study nursing. But when it comes to school and you have these plans, the grades got to line up with those plans that you want.
Yes.
And my grades did not necessarily line up with those plans. So, of course, when I applied to the nursing program, I was denied. And so I was like, okay, well, now what do I do? This whole time I've been saying I want to work with older adults, and yeah, I'm going to be a nurse. That's how I'm going to do it. And now the one avenue that I thought would be how I would do this has been canceled. So what do I do now? And that is when one of my friends told me that Winston-Salem State University had a gerontology program. So I
Mm.
was like, okay, so I can still do this and still be able to move with my passion and work with older adults and learn all about aging. And so I studied gerontology, and then, like most college students, I thought, when I get out of school, I'm gonna get a banging job and I'm gonna make money and
Mhm.
everything is gonna be great. But reality hits when you graduate and you don't have a job. And so
Right.
I didn't have a job. So I ended up going to work for a call center. It was dealing with health insurance. And I did that for so many years and I hated it. I was
Mm.
grateful for it, but I really begrudged that whole process because it was just like, this is not what I went to school to do. So then it was like, well, maybe I need to get my master's. Maybe that's what I'm missing. I need
Mhm.
to get my master's. But because I didn't have a lot of guidance, I didn't know any better. And I went and got my master's in the
Mm.
same thing that I got my bachelor's in, which was gerontology.
Ah,
And so it was like a refresher for
right.
2 years. But
A really expensive
you know
refresher,
what I'm
right?
saying?
Yeah.
If I could go back, I probably would have chosen something different just to add on to my bachelor's. But
Right.
I honestly just didn't know any better. And in my mind, I was desperate and was like, feeling this is what I needed in order for companies to see my value or my worth, you know? And so I go through grad school, 2 year program, and I was like, all right, now this is what's going to get me the job. No, it's not. It
Oh,
wasn't what
right.
got me the job. I was still working at the call center. I was
Mhm.
applying for jobs. I was being called back for second interviews and jumping through hoops and things, but steadily getting rejections.
Mm.
And rejection will make you question yourself. It'll make you feel inadequate. It'll have you feeling all of these negative emotions and having these negative thoughts. And so one day it was just like I was just talking like, man, I just want to work in my field. I just want to work in my field. And just clear as day, like I like heard God say, like, you can do that. You just won't be getting paid in it. But you can do what you want to do. You can do what your passion is. You've got to change how you look at it and how you're seeing this situation. And it was just like, man. So I said, okay, I'm gonna start reading articles about aging every day. Every day I'm gonna read a new article and just learn what I can as I continue to look for a job that's in my field. And with doing that, I found that there weren't any Black people or people of color who were the authors of these articles that I was reading. And on top of that, some of the articles, although they had a ton of great information, the way it was delivered, in my opinion, was somewhat boring. And it was like, this is why nobody wants to learn about aging. This is why
Right.
nobody, it's like, I don't have time to learn about aging, okay? Like, no, it's boring. I'm not looking forward to getting older, blah, blah, blah. This is why. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start a blog. And that's really how Gero-what came about. It was just boom, boom, bam. Like, what am I gonna call it? Boom, Gero-what? Because that's how people respond when I tell them, yes, I studied gerontology, or yes, I am a gerontologist. And so I was like, this is perfect, the way it flowed. And so that's the story behind Gero-what. It's my baby. It really has changed my life because it helped me grow confidence. It helped me with putting myself outside of my comfort zone, all of that
Mhm.
good stuff. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's the story.
Yeah. And if you hadn't gone through some of those challenges and not having things play out the way that we think that they do, we might not have been able to experience all of who you
Honey.
are and your wisdom and how you're able to share that to the world now. So, I mean, I'm kind of thankful for it,
Yeah,
but I know it's such a
I
hard road to get there.
too. It sucked. I would be honest with you.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
were so many days when I would just be frustrated or crying or questioning, like, for real though, such and such is getting a job. Why
Yeah,
can't I get my chance,
right,
But
right.
all things really do work together and for the
Yeah.
good. And I just
Mhm,
truly believe that and I'm living that.
mhm.
And so yeah, I'm grateful for it all. So
Yeah, and look, I mean, it's taught you so much, and I know that the road I've taken also, it's like I never would have prepared for what I'm doing now without having gone through all those other challenges. I think it definitely puts us in a place where, okay, we can do this. We've been through those hard trials and
Yep.
come out on the other side.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, I love your story. And I just am so happy that you are here. It's so
Thank
awesome.
you.
And you really found this missing piece that we need right now. I feel the same way. I think that and we're so thankful for those other voices in the field, right? They've taught
Mhm.
us a lot, but I think we're really missing a big piece of it. We're missing speaking to that younger generation.
Yeah.
We're missing that diversity. America is made up, and our world is made up of people of all backgrounds, of all cultures, of all colors, and we're not getting a good representation of that. And
Right.
I'm frustrated by it.
Mhm.
And you deliver the information in such a real way for people. Like you said, it's like for your hashtag, like for the culture, for the people. Just so refreshing. And it's not a fun or glamorous industry at
No.
all. It's so not like sexy, so to
Right.
speak. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But we also want people to be drawn to it because they are making up such a large part of our population right now. And the ability that we still have to care for and connect and grow the field in a way that is relatable to all people, because we're all going to
Mhm.
be faced with that. And you've made it important and fun and understandable. And I know you talked a little bit about why you created Gero-what, but what are some of those specific reasons why you created that platform?
One of the things that I've noticed as I've continued to grow and learn is that a lot of individuals in my generation, which I am a millennial, I find it that our focus at times is a little off. So instead of focusing on, of course, enjoying life and also how to prepare for as we continue to get older, I think we more so just focus on the enjoying life aspect. And
Mhm.
what I've noticed is that there's going to come a time where there's going to be information that we need to have access to. And instead of us scrambling around and trying to find that information and oh my God, I'm stressed. I don't even know where to start. I don't know what to look up, or, whatever. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, why don't I create something that can be like a resource center? So as I continue to learn, because I'm learning as I go, honestly, but as I continue
Mhm.
to learn, I can provide information that I've learned. And even though they may not care about it right now, as time moves forward and there comes a situation where it's like, I know I saw this, let me go to Gero-what.com and see
Yeah.
what information she said something about this, or she posted something about this specific topic, or she provided a link that I could go to get more info. Let me go on there and see what that
Mhm.
was. So I really want to be a resource center for younger generations as well as older generations. I think it's just something that's needed out there. And then also to be a Black woman, I feel like for the Black community, a lot of times we're kind of just like out here and
Mhm.
we don't even know like what is available. We don't know that there's a center here that can help with this specific issue, or we don't know. And so I
Right.
also want to make sure that I can be a representative for them, and that they know like, okay, this is someone who looks like me, and I know I can get some information that's helpful from this individual. I
Yeah.
think a lot of times there's just not enough voices for
Mhm.
Black people or people of color, and
Right.
that's really necessary, especially when it comes to talking about health disparities. And
Yeah.
it's one thing to talk about it and value the knowledge that everyone has when they touch on it, but when it's not a person of color, it's
Mhm.
challenging for the audience that you're trying to reach to
Right.
really grasp what you're saying, because they're still
Mhm.
looking at you as, but you don't look like me. Like, how do you
Right.
understand? How do you know?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that's the other part of this thing, or my focus with Gero-what, is just being a person that you can connect with.
Yeah.
And it's not just specific to race, but even just like with my generation, they see someone who is around their age, and it's like, wow, she's really feeling this topic. Let me see what it's all about. Let me see if I should buy in. It's another connection. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what my focus is.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And I think that's exactly what's needed is people have to feel a connection to want to continue to learn and dialogue about issues. Because if they don't and if they're not invested, they'll just walk away. And we don't need that right now. We want people to dive in and to be connected and find a source of comfort that you are there and that you can help them walk through that process. I think it's so awesome. And you also, so you have your blog, which you share so much great information, but you also, can you tell us a little bit about your real homies want to know and sitting and sitting up? Is it sitting up in my room? Is that it?
Yes,
Or
sitting
sitting
up
in my
in my
room?
room
Sitting up
Fridays.
in my room.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my God, I've watched so many and I love it. Tell us what motivated you to do that and what is that? Like a little glimpse into that for people.
Well, real homies want to know is so random. I credit everything to God, because the way my
Yeah.
brain works is just kind of like, what? Where did it come from? But
It's
when
meant to be here.
yes,
Yes.
when I was working on developing or working on creating Gero-what, and what parts of it do I want to share, I was like, I'm just gonna let it just be all blog posts. Just that's all we're gonna do. Well, people kept saying you should think about doing videos, and I was like, nah, that's not me. You getting enough with me typing something up
Right.
from my
Yeah.
thoughts, like me and videos, no. And people were like, but your personality is just so, and I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
care. Like, that's not, I'm not doing it. But the funny thing about life is when someone sows a seed, you kind of
Mhm.
like start thinking about it more and more. And that's kind of what happened. I started thinking about it more and more. And I was just like, so if I do these videos, like, what am I going to talk about? What would I call it? And I was just like, man. And I lie to you not, it just really popped up. Real homies want to know. And I was like, real homies want to know. That could work. Because, like, these
It's
are my
divine.
homies, people
Yes.
who I'm talking to. They're my homies.
Mhm.
We're in this
Yes.
together. That's the kind of thing. And it
Mhm.
was like, I
Mhm.
can go more in depth on the blog post that I wrote, or I can just talk
Mhm.
about a specific topic that's popped up in my mind or that I've recently learned about and share it. And I try to make the videos short and sweet, because I know the attention span of many is short and
Mhm.
sweet. So
Right.
I try
In a
to,
good
like,
way.
keep all of that in mind, and I'll, jot some notes down, and I just go from there. That's really what real homies want to know is just hearing the information if you're not cool
Mhm.
with reading it. And then I
Right.
do here this year, because of the pandemic and everything, things had to be through Zoom, and it was like, I think I could
Mhm.
utilize this. So I did start interviewing people. You don't want to hear from me all the time. Let's bring someone
Ah.
on that has knowledge in this area, so I don't have to try to feed it to the people. Let's get someone who this is their experience and share
Yeah,
that.
their
So I just
perspective.
kind of build onto it or whatever. But that's real
Mhm.
homies want to know.
Mhm.
And sitting up in my room is just another random thing that just popped up in my head. I love Brandy, and she has a song called Sitting Up in My Room. And it's to the soundtrack
Mhm.
of this movie called Waiting to Exhale, which is one of my faves.
Yeah. Oh,
And
so
I
good.
was just singing that song one day, and it just popped up in my head like, you could do this. And talk
Yeah.
about aging, and you can just make a video and ask a question. And so the very first video, I didn't really know what I was gonna do, how I was gonna make us put a spin on. I didn't know. I just did it, and I played it back, and I was like, okay. And I thought it was just gonna be a one-time thing, but every week something would
Mm,
happen, or I would hear something, or it would be something specific that I could relate to aging. And I was like, I guess we're going to do another video. And so each
yeah.
video that I do, my goal is to have people take a look at themselves to see, like, like, how can I apply this to my aging experience? Or what am I doing, or what could I be doing that could enhance or maybe taken away from my aging experience? So that's the goal with sitting up in my room.
Yeah, everyone has to check it out. Go to your website. I think the video does so much, and we can read information, and that is such a great way to learn, and we can reference back. But video to be able to hear and see and engage in dialogue, I feel like people then really get to know you and your mission and who you're interviewing, and it's such a transformative way to share information.
Yeah, I agree.
I
Thank
like it.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yes. So you had talked about how really dispelling those myths and stereotypes around aging. And part of that is if we talk about ageism, what is ageism? And are there different types of ageism? What are you seeing as work with people and having conversations?
So, ageism is, I mean, simply put, it is the discrimination or prejudice towards an individual because of his or her age. A lot of times the focus is on older adults because we see it more present with older adults, mainly, but it can have
Mm,
an impact on anybody through, at any age, basically.
right.
I was reading, and there are different types of ageism. There's like the personal ageism. So in your mind, you have these assumptions of what you think older adults do or what you think old age means. And based on that, you have a bias, and you operate under that, right? And then you've got
Mhm.
the institutional ageism, which is oftentimes seen in the workplace, where you have a lot of people who experience age discrimination, or in healthcare settings, which we've seen recently this year
Mhm.
more. But that's another
Right.
form. And then there is, I think I wrote it down. Do I have it? Yeah, intentional ageism. So that is when a person may take advantage of someone because of his or her age. So when you see those financial scams and the different types
Mm,
of elder abuse, things like that, that's the intentional ageism. And then the other one is unintentional ageism. So you're not even aware that you
mm,
have this bias towards a specific age group, but you do. And a lot of times you're not aware unless someone brings it to your attention. But you're treating people a certain way, or you're excluding people because of their age, and you just don't have any knowledge of it. And
right.
that is information that I got. It was from an article called Ageism in America, and it breaks down how ageism looks in each form, and how it affects people in each form. And then it also even breaks down the financial impact that it can
Mm,
have on
mhm.
individuals who experience ageism. What was
Right.
the other question you asked me?
Um, I
Did I
think you
answer?
answered
Oh,
them.
okay,
Yeah,
good.
what it is and the
All right.
different types. Yeah. I love it. Perfect. Uh, um, so how do you see it play out in our culture today? And do you think COVID-19 has exacerbated this issue? Highlighted it?
Yeah, definitely highlighted it. In
Yeah.
today's culture, there's still this exclusion of individuals because of their age. There's
Mhm.
still the stereotypes. So, like I said, I was a millennial. there's still all of these stereotypes directed towards millennials or those who belong to Gen X or those who belong to Gen Z. There's stereotypes, there's thoughts, there's perceptions, there's all of these things and the way society views these individuals. But yes, COVID-19 most definitely highlighted it. If people didn't have a clear idea of what ageism was, if they listened to the news, it should have definitely been made super extreme clear then. Because when this stuff first started popping off, the thing that would be said was, "You good. If you're not over 65,
Right.
like, don't worry. You're okay. If you don't have a chronic condition, you're good. All right. So just chill. Keep living your life. You good. It's just them that's gotta worry." What?
Yeah. Yeah.
What? So that alone was just kind of like, really? So, oh, let's get rid of them. Or there were people saying, I mean, they've lived their lives. It's okay if they no, like, no matter how old I get, if I am 89 years old and I'm still here, my life, like, I still belong here. And you cannot
Yeah.
tell me just because I've been on earth for 89 years that now if I die because I get this virus, it should be okay. No, it's not. It's not. That you don't get to
Yeah.
make that decision. And
No.
so another form of ageism, another way of looking at older adults as not really belonging or they don't even really need to be here, you know?
Right.
So I most definitely feel that COVID-19 highlighted it. It made things uncomfortable. I was thinking about this earlier, how for years and years and years, there's been this thing about older adults not being tech savvy or they don't know how to
Mm,
deal with technology and all of this stuff. And I feel like that's been proven wrong. So that's a positive
right.
to it because
It
a
is.
lot of older adults have learned about FaceTime and they've learned about Zoom. They've learned how to use their electronic devices to communicate with their loved ones. So it shows, oh, they're capable of doing things just like you and I. So I do think that way we were able to dispel it in a way, but it's it's still an issue and it became a bigger issue. But I feel like because of this year, it can help us when we make examples or we're trying to just make things clear and paint the full picture. I feel like it can help and it's a great block, a great stepping stone with this whole trying to change the way society views older adults and change the way they view aging.
I agree with that. And I think we've seen the worst of some people come out and also the best. And
Yeah,
while it's divided the generations to some extent, I think it's also highlighted our senior living communities and older adults that are home in another way that they've never really had a light shown on that group
yeah,
of people as much as it is right now. So,
yeah,
like any situation, there's those highs and lows. And I think it's true. We've seen so much of people come together and to be able to help and support, and also those older adults dive into learning new things and ordering groceries online and being on
yeah.
a Zoom call. I was in this Zoom call with a group of older adults. We were reading a book about grief, and I was the youngest person by, oh gosh, probably 30, 40, 30 or 40 years. But I loved it. I was with all my, friends. And what was really neat is just how they dove into being on this virtual book support group
Yeah.
and how much that you could see that they really loved connecting. And even though it was in a way that they probably were not used to. So,
Mhm.
yeah, your thoughts on that are just spot on. I feel like if we look at ageism and some of the things that we want to try to dispel, language plays a huge part in that, right?
Yeah.
How we not only speak to others, but how we speak to ourselves. And what sayings do you hear, or what what advice could you give people of maybe what not to say that could be really harmless and not we don't even know that we're doing it?
I would say the number one thing is the too old to do phrase. I
Mm,
mean, so
mhm,
we count ourselves out of doing a lot because of our age. We have this ticking clock in our minds, and we feel if we haven't done it by our 20s or our 30s or our 40s, that anything past that we are too old to participate in it, or if it's some like a new beginning of starting something new or whatever, that we are too old to do it. And
mm,
so there's no rule book that says when you become this age, you have now been deemed too old. But we all operate in it. I feel like there's been times that I may have even operated under that or believed in it, or just
mhm,
applying it to my life, but that's not the case. And so I think a starting point with the ageism that we could really have to ourselves is to take that out of your vocabulary. You're not too old. And it's hard to, at times, like I had mentioned before we even started this, I
mhm.
am always trying to make sure I'm finding a balance with what I say. I try to practice what I preach. But I think
Right.
sometimes I get into this super, super optimistic or positive mindset that I don't want it to seem as if I am counting people who have
Mm,
experienced certain situations or their circumstances aren't the best. I don't want to count them out. But what I
yeah.
will say is that when life comes at us and we have no control over it, the starting point is our mind and how we talk
Mhm,
about our situations. Just like you and I had mentioned earlier, that whole thing of manifesting and speaking things into existence, how we talk about
yeah.
ourselves and our situations as it relates to aging is going to play a
Mhm,
huge role in this aging experience. So if you want to go through life saying, oh, I am getting so old and I'm going to lose my mind, keep saying that because you're the one who's putting that out there in the atmosphere. Or say I sprained like my ankle, I messed up my ankle earlier this year. And it had me somewhat down because I couldn't do the things I wanted to do. I try to be really big on exercise and I could not do that. I had to change how I looked at that situation. I couldn't do it to what I was used to doing. I couldn't exercise to the intensity that I'm used to exercising, but I can still go for a walk. I can still do some low impact exercises, things like that, to where I can still get my heart rate up somewhat and I'm still moving. So, how I talked about my situation played a huge role in how well I was able to get through that painful experience with my ankle. So
yeah.
I just say all that to say that it's going to start with taking out the too old. It's going to start with not buying into what society says aging looks like, because society paints this picture of you will be frail and you will be dependent
Mm,
and you'll be incompetent, and you don't have to buy into that. You'll be what you say you want to be while you take life, and you'll take the lemons that are thrown at you, but you will still be what you say you want to be, and you will still do what you say you want to do.
yeah, that's so good, and it really is the most important saying is not the one we share with other people, but it's what we tell ourselves.
Right.
That's the most important voice, really, because it shapes not only our perception of our own aging journey, but how we view that out into the world.
Yeah, I agree. I
That
agree.
self-talk's huge.
It's so
And
huge.
that's why we need reminders all the time from people and from other encouraging places that what we do need to be focusing on. I think that's
Yeah.
really important. So, what have you found is the best way to shift another person's viewpoint on aging? I love that. Now we're like, okay, we want to tell other people what to think, but in a really good way.
The best way
Uh,
is to hear people out. That's what I'm learning.
mhm.
Hear them out.
Yes, listen
We're
first and
gonna
then,
have
yeah.
different views. It's just that's
Mhm,
we're all individuals. And so
mhm,
when I talk to someone who may not see aging the way I see it, it's just complete opposite. Initially, I want to, no, you're wrong. This is no. You need to look at it like this. But
right.
what I'm learning is hear them out, because the more perspectives you can get from people with any topic, the more you can learn, and then the more you can even fine tune the way you approach things. It's like, oh, well, maybe I need to go back to the drawing board and try to approach it this way, because it's sounding like most people, their perspective is this, and
Mm,
how can I get them or encourage them to want to see it from this angle, and honestly, it's hearing them out, but also accepting that you are not going to get through to everybody. You're just
yeah,
not. It's
right.
just not the way it is, and it's okay to agree to disagree. Me trying to shove my beliefs down a person's throat because I want this person to be like, aging isn't that bad. You're right. I shouldn't say that I'm going to get weak when I get older. Or you're right. I shouldn't say I'm going to get dementia because that's not a normal part. You're right. I shouldn't. They're not going to do that. In their
Yeah.
mind, they're going to still be worried about all of the things that they have heard as it
Mhm.
relates to aging, or all of the things that they have witnessed as it relates to aging. That's going to still be in the back of their minds. And so when I can hear people out and I can hear what they've experienced, what they've seen, and get an understanding of why it's challenging to change how a person sees something, then it's like, I guess having that understanding can help how I approach the person that I'm trying to get to see in a different way. If that makes sense. It kind of felt like I was
Yeah.
talking in circles, but I don't
Ah,
know.
I'm here for it. I'm just like, okay, you can talk for hours. No, it's and I what I was thinking of when you were talking is really that's such a perfect approach for any issue really or situation because that's never works well for any of us if we try
Mm-mm.
to shove our viewpoint or our opinions on people. And what does work and where there is progress is when there is listening and understanding where people are coming from, taking into account the life that they've lived, how they've witnessed aging in older adults, what shaped their perspective, and having conversation to move into a place where there can be such productive dialogue about it.
Right. Right. Because with that productive dialogue, even though the person's mind may not change, now they've also heard your perspective, and that's in their mind too. So it could be
Mhm.
small minor adjustments, like, oh, why did I say that? Okay, let me say this. They may still believe
Right.
what they believe, but they could make small adjustments based off of what you said. You just got to put it out there and just be like, "Well, it's going to do what it's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the open dialogue, I really believe, is necessary. Just
Mhm.
talking
Mhm.
it out, and everyone just voicing their concerns or their opinions or whatever, it's needed. There's a lot of
Yeah.
necessary conversations that need to be had around aging and how it looks for everyone, because then that can help with the programs that come up and the different policies that are written, all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
it's kind of off tangent, but I think
Right.
it's
No,
necessary.
it is necessary. One thought is for people that maybe don't know where to start the conversation. If we start with one small step or one tool, what would be if there's like a universal question someone could ask to learn more about another person and their perspective on ageism? What would that question be?
Thing that's coming to my mind is asking a person, what are some things that you've counted yourself out of doing? Like, what are some things that you wanted to do and you counted yourself out of it? You said, nah, I can't do that. Because then they'll share what those things are. And then you'll be like, well, why did you think that? And then they'll start talking. They may not say it right up front, but as they continue to talk and build on the answer, it'll show up like, because I had an ageist thought about myself,
Oh,
And then that's where another person can come in and be like, well, no, just because, and just kind of provide
it will
assurance and
build.
support and encouragement. But now you guys are having this dialogue. So I think that could be a great starting point. Another one is, what are some things that you did when you were younger that you don't find yourself doing now? I
Oh,
think
that's a
that's
good one.
another one.
Yeah.
Now there are some things that we've done when we were younger that we shouldn't be doing now.
I
I
can
stopped
come up
doing
with
those
a
things
few.
because I grew up.
Right. I knew how to make better decisions. Yeah.
Right. I think there may be some other things that we did when we were younger that were benefit, but as we got older, we may have just said, I need to stop. Or it could even be something as far as like exercising, as an
Mhm.
example. Oh yeah, I did a lot of high intense exercises when I was in my 20s or my 30s, but now that I'm in my 40s, I don't think I need to be doing those things anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Why? Why don't you think that?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because I'm having ageist thoughts about myself. Like,
Yeah. Really good questions.
okay, you think so?
I
We'll go with it.
do. And I think that they will build on so much more discussion, which is really the point of it all, to
Yeah.
be able to continue that dialogue. I like it. What resources would you recommend if someone is feeling like, I'm a person of color and I want to be able to have access to aging information that has diversity? I think a lot of times people don't know where to go to have. Is that a new one too?
No, no, it's not new, but I'm sitting here like, what has
Oh,
diversity? That like I'm
right.
trying.
That's the problem. That's
Right.
that's why we're talking today, and I think that is a big frustration. I definitely had residents that I wanted to provide that life enrichment component to throughout the years of my practice, and really struggled coming up with resources for them. And so, is there a place that, obviously, Gero-what for sure is where
Mhm.
people can go? Any other thoughts on where people
Um,
can find more information?
the National Institute on Aging, there's information out there that is directed towards African Americans as an example.
Mhm.
And then there was a lot of articles that came out earlier this year when all of the George Floyd stuff came about. So it was the National Center on Elder Abuse. That's what it was.
Okay.
So that's another one, because a lot of people of color experience elder abuse and may not even know
Mm,
where to start with how to address it,
mhm.
or what elder abuse looks like. And it's nothing lengthy. It's not like there's tons and tons of links that are just going to be specific to African
Mhm.
American, where there's like an actual resource center that's specific and gives that necessary information. That for me, I have not come across. Now someone else
Right.
may could be like, oh no, Christina, blah
Yeah.
blah blah, and then I'll be like, oh okay, I didn't know that,
Right. Yes,
so
yes.
yeah.
Yes. Well, we're going to include all your information on the episode description for people so they can reach out to you and find all that you bring to the world, and ask questions. You touched on being an advocate for elders in general, which we didn't talk about what you do now, which is
Oh
such a big job and so
yeah.
amazing. Okay, so tell us, what are you doing now?
So I finally got a job in the field,
Yeah.
that's related to my degree. I am a long-term care ombudsman. So I just tell people it's basically a resident advocate. So it's someone who pretty much handles complaints and concerns of individuals who live in long-term care communities, such as a nursing home or an assisted living home. And I get to work with the resident and I get to work with the families, and we at times provide different educational trainings for the staff. And it's really cool, just getting to, well, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
you know, we would do visits, friendly visits, and we go around and we introduce ourselves to the residents and just ask them how things are going and if they have any concerns and whatnot. And that allows us to know whether or not there's any type of staff mistreatment, things like that. Are they getting the level of care that they need? Are they getting quality care? So that's a way for us to kind of gauge. And if there is a concern or an issue, then we can come in and be the mediator and try to resolve it and just keep
Mhm.
everybody at peace, basically.
Yeah.
While they,
Yeah.
you deserve to live your best life, whether you live in a long-term care community or you live at home. And so our goal is to help them live their best lives while they are living in this setting or this place. It's their home. So
It is their home.
yeah, that's the
Such a great
goal. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's your job, but it's also such a big mission. It really is. So it's really
Yeah,
cool.
it's
Yeah.
cool. At times you may feel helpless because what I try to explain to a lot of people is that my job does not deal, it's not regulatory. So I
Mm,
can't go in and enforce anything. I can't go in and give out citations or write facilities up. That's out of my control. That's above me. That's another level up. So at
Yeah.
times when a situation arises where it's just like, man, this is a really intense
Mhm.
issue. You I have to constantly like encourage myself, you just do what you can do. And when it gets to a point where it's outside of your scope, you know how to push it to the next level.
Right.
But in those moments, you're like, gosh, I wish I could just do this right now.
Yeah. I want to take care of this.
Yes. So
Oh,
just educating people about my role so they can have
right.
a clear understanding of what I can and cannot do
I
is
love
a
that.
challenge, but it's
Yeah.
cool. And I really feel good when a person just says, thank you for just letting me vent. Cause that's
Mhm.
sometimes what it is. They just want to vent.
Yeah.
So
Be
it's
heard.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. So I enjoy that. And so
Mhm.
it's a cool job.
Yeah. Do you find that are things feeling a little more intense now with COVID with your role, or is it quieted down, so to speak, if there's action in a different way because the infection control measures are heightened,
Mhm.
there's not as many visitors depending on what state you're in, but I don't know, what are you seeing?
In the beginning, it's very hard to explain to a loved one or to a resident why visitors are not allowed and to make
Mhm.
it clear that it's for your safety and the safety of others. To that person who's experiencing a new way of living, if they're used to having company or they're used to visiting their mom and dad every day or on the weekend, and now that's completely shut down, they don't care about that. It's like, no, but this person, this is who I want to see, and I'm used to seeing this person, and I think you're just trying to keep me from seeing them. That's the mindset. So I think for a lot of people, like the bulk of the complaints, it was let us back in the facilities. Our
Right.
loved ones need us, or they're getting sicker because they're not having that social piece that we
Mhm.
all need in some way to survive. They're not
Yeah.
getting that. So now they're getting sicker, or yeah, they died because they were depressed. And these are all things that are unfortunate. And we hate to see it, but it's like at the same time, know that it's not a punishment to you or to the resident or to anyone. It's really just trying to look out for everybody in a situation that no one was prepared for.
Right.
So
It's
it was,
hard on both ends. Yeah.
yeah, and it was real extreme. And then September-ish, things started to kind of lessen. The restrictions were, lessened, and people could come and do outdoor visits. And then it was like, if your facility has not had a case, an outbreak in so many days, you can have people come indoors. But it was a lot. And I mean, it has quieted some, but the way life is looking,
Right.
it seems
The
like
holidays.
it might get a little bit more rowdy soon.
Oh, I think so. I think so. And I am hopeful that the next few months, as we have more options to treat it with the vaccine, hopefully coming up down the line, I think that it's going to be a whole new experience, right? We'll see what happens. Miss, I would spend time a couple times a week with a woman with dementia in a facility. Her family lived out of town a little bit, and I miss that so much. It was such a part of my day. It was such a part of my week, and not being in there is tough, but I get it because it's at 11 protection, and so we do that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's so hard. Well, I just am going to direct every single person listening to go to your website, Gero-what.com, and just get information for the culture, all about aging, the importance of it, how to find resources. And I love when you say this, that exemplify that life doesn't end just because we turn another year older. So
That's right. That's
on
right.
that note, yeah, thank you. I want the whole world to meet you, and
Oh,
we're manifesting that, right?
they will, girl. They will. The whole
Yes.
world will know
Whole
you.
world. I love it. Yeah. I'll be just cheering you on for sure.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, thank you
You.
so much. Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed our episode, please subscribe and give us 5 stars. In all honesty, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening to our episode.